First deal is called to order. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. The first item is, we go ahead to swearing in, so it's called to order.
Board Member Dufer,
Here.
Board Member Lambert,
Here.
Board Member Moore,
Here.
Board Member Olson's absent, Board Member Studeville,
Here.
Board Member Taylor,
Here.
Board Member Thomas,
Here.
Vice Chairman Shear,
Here.
Chairman Craig.
Present. Okay. Ask Dan Moore to give the invocation, if you would, please.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity for service. We'd ask that you be with us and guide us in everything that we do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. I don't guess we have a flag, do we?
Yeah, there's one right there. Right there.
Oh.
Underneath the table. Upside.
Does anybody want to lead the flag salute? Haven't done that. Okay.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it calls, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I read roll call. Oh, shoot. Okay. Basically, the call to order was the roll call, I guess. Okay. Order of business, consent items. First item is the approval of the minutes of July 6th.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
All approved, aye? Okay. Okay. I don't see any consent items to be removed, so we'll move on to the taxiway light project update.
Afternoon, everybody. How y'all doing?
Yeah.
Just really quick, for anybody that may not know, my name is Josh Matekovic. I did step in to take over for Mr. Wyatt as he stepped down. As far as the taxiway lighting update goes, so we had a capital improvement plan update with KSA about a week and a half ago. And during that, I was talking with Adam Marsh, one of our KSA reps. I was talking with Ryan Wise from Wise Electric, who's going to be doing our replacing all the lights out there and doing all the repairs out there. He stated that as of right now, it's looking to be around the first week of November is when he's anticipating having all the equipment in, the wires, the lights, base plates, all that stuff. He's going to do a quick inventory of it once he gets everything in, and then upon completion of that inventory, he says it's looking about probably the middle of November, they should be out, weather permitting, to be able to start working on replacing all those lights, running the wire, all the transformer stuff like that. Part of the reason why it's taking so long is some of the equipment that he got in turned out to be the wrong type. A couple of the transformers that he got, stuff like that, were the wrong kind of transformers for the lights and stuff like that. So he had to send those back. So that's why he's going to be conducting a inventory around the first of November to ensure that everything's accurate, correct, and everything's going to work for our needs at the airport. So, yes, sir. That's correct. Yes.
This was from the storm damage?
Yes, sir. From the lightning strikes out at the airport. Yes, sir.
All of them are out. I haven't been out at night in a while. Not all of them are out, are they? Yes.
Yes, sir. All the taxiway lights, yes. All the runway lights are still functioning properly. The PAPIs are working good as well. It's just all the taxiway lights were out.
We have that on another one?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Is that on the AWAS?
No, not at this time. No. We've been running other messages, but I can get that back on the AWAS if it's preferential.
Fort Worth Center told me, I came in last night on there, and Fort Worth Center was advised and
Okay. Yes, sir. I can definitely add that on. Absolutely. So.
The next item is the airport director's report. Was that you also?
Yes, sir. So the biggest thing I wanted to report is a change that I've done as far as the way we're doing training out at the airport now. I've signed us up to do all our field training and marshaling training through NATA Safety First program. I'm sure many of you that are pilots are aware of what NATA is. It's a National Air Transportation Association, if I remember the acronym correctly. But this is a very nationally known group. They've got people that work up in DC lobbying for airports and stuff like that for projects and things like that. And also too, getting in with NATA, they have a publication that they can put out. It's I can't remember the name of it now, but we have the opportunity of actually being advertised in this publication as well. Also too, with this, we can now put this on our AirNav posting through airnav.com, so that way when pilots are looking through AirNav at our airport to see what our fuel prices are and stuff like that, they can now see that we have NATA Safety First at our airport. And I know from my prior experiences up in Clovis, New Mexico, when I was running that airport up there, we actually had several contract companies, corporate companies and stuff like that that came through simply because we had NATA Safety First. Another part of the reason why this change was made is because while the Titan fuel training was adequate for our airport, in my opinion, it lacked a lot of essential areas because you had to do different tiers in order to hit certain markers. So like your bulk fuel loads coming in, stuff like that, you had to actually do a higher tier on the program, which wasn't all the time available. So a lot of our employees were missing out on a lot of that training. With NATA, all that's covered, as well as the lav cart servicing that we're going to start offering at the airport. Once we get it in our GPU servicing, we're going to be able to offer at the airport marshaling techniques and training, as well as movement area training, items like that. It's, in my opinion, a more in-depth training program through Safety First, because a lot of it is Part 139 certificated training, so it hits a lot more of the bases that we need at our airport. And with that, I'll stand for any questions at this moment.
NATA safety costs money.
Yes, sir, it did. So for all of our employees to be trained, it was, to include the start of the membership and the training, it was a little over $1,000 for this. But that is, this training is actually good for 2 years. So instead of Titan where we have to do it annually, this one is every 2 years. We conduct this training. They also offer supervisory training as well as customer service training as well. So it's one of those things that this is something that we have to look at. The $1,000 is necessarily every 2 years. It's right around, I want to say about $400 or $500 for all the training seats. So we'd only have to look at that about every 2 years.
And does this give you any ability to use some of these operators like NetJets? Does it make a difference to them? Is that kind of why we're going towards that? Or?
It absolutely does. And again, that's what that Safety First training, being able to advertise that, it does make a difference because a lot of them go by that NATA Safety First because they also, there's a audit company, I can't remember the name off my top of my head, I apologize, but there's an audit company out there and Safety First is actually one of their examples that they go by when they conduct audits of FBOs and stuff like that. So this absolutely does make a difference.
So are we getting any of those fuel cells right now from NetJets or FlexJet, any of those? I mean, are they using us as a primary fuel provider, or are they just using our coffee ice paper?
So for the most part, whenever NetJets comes in, as of right now, it's just on a as it's chartered basis. Part of what this is going to do, which I'm hoping to start moving forward, I've only been in this position about 2 weeks, so I haven't had a chance to start reaching out to some of these companies like I want to. But as I reach out to them and advise, my goal is to get them to start using us as a primary stop, as opposed to going to Dallas Love or going to Ardmore or any of those. We can get them at our location. As far as memory serves, I don't believe either of the Ardmore airports are utilizing NATA at this time. So that's kind of a feather in our cap, if you will, for our airport, which can definitely help to get more of that traffic in.
Is there any advertising, do they do say, hey, these airports use our services, or do we have to do that advertising?
No, they'll put it in some of the brochures that they drop. They'll put it in there, and like I said, there are some pilots that utilize that advertising out there. So again, this is my experience with them from up in Clovis as well, and we had a little snippet in one of their pamphlets that we got one time showing CVN Aviation for our FBO and stuff like that. So.
How often does NetJets come in?
We actually saw, I want to say it was last week, I believe we had four round trips from them into our airport last week with a Challenger.
The reason I was wondering, to let them know, is there any process we can go by?
So NetJets has a portal that we can upload a lot of our certification training, all that stuff, as well as any audits that they may want for our fuel inspections, our monthly inspections, items like that. We can upload them into this portal. As we start doing that, and as we get more into the flow of doing that, that will go in our favor of being able to get them to start recognizing us as a reliable and trusted stop.
And once you get the training done, then you can put in their portal so they know, hey, we're okay.
Yes, sir, correct.
Thank you.
And as we get our inspections more in line and everything else like that, we'll be able to utilize that as well to drop our inspection sheets in there to let them know.
Will that help us any on, I'm sure we have a general liability policy for the airport. I would assume maybe it's an umbrella policy over the airport for the FBO. Will that help us any with that insurance policy? Do you know how you?
I have not gotten that deep into it as of yet. I don't know if it makes that much of a difference on the insurance side immediately off the get-go, but I think it might down the road. But I will get with Cynthia Price on that one and discuss that with our insurance carriers, definitely. Yes, sir.
I did have a question on the training.
Yes, sir.
Is this online training, or do they send somebody down to actually?
So it is all on, yes, it is all online training. However, we have on-the-job training manuals that we can utilize from them as well as practical exams that we can administer to our employees at the airport. And, most of what they're doing, they've been doing now. It's just this gives them, if you will, a more in-depth appreciation for what exactly the job entails. Before they were just getting the bare minimums of it. Now they're actually getting into the meat and potatoes of what the job entails and everything else. So, and as I'm getting so I'm in the supervisory part of it. So that way, once I finish mine, I'm almost complete with it. I can turn around and conduct all the hands-on training that's needed at the airport. I mean, I do at this time anyways, and I have since I started at the airport. Just given, and part of that reason is given my experience with training and training employees and my time in the aviation industry. Thank you.
I do have another question, Josh, actually.
Yeah.
So you're now the airport manager,
Yes, sir.
and so what about your old job?
My old job?
Yes.
At this time, we are, I haven't gotten into looking at hiring at this time. Right now, I'm focused on trying to get our 2 full-service line positions filled and our admin assistant position filled. Once I get those filled, we'll sit down and look at the ops side of it, because there's some things that honestly can be taken over from an admin point of view that I was conducting for Mr. Wyatt previously. And there's other items that, you know, could require the use of a operations individual at the airport. But as we continue to grow, that position could, in essence, become essential. But I loathe to say it, but at this point in time, I really don't know if it's an actually essential part once we get an admin position in. Because honestly, that was, in all truth, a lot of my job. Right now, I have 1 full-time and 3 part-time.
Is that sufficient?
No.
We have jobs posted. We have 2 of those posted right now, correct?
Yes. So this Friday, we
Full-time.
actually interview for 2 of our admin positions. We're interviewing 2 people for our admin position. And then we're just waiting for the applicants that have put in for the line service position to get scheduled for interviews. But we are getting to the point where we are starting to interview for those positions.
Are we interviewing for a part-time employee or a full-time employee?
2 full-time line service employees and 1 full-time admin employee. And the admin employee will work in conjunction with Tammy out at the airport. She will still work her part-time with the airport as she has been. But this full-time admin will take on a lot more of the duties that are with the admin. They'll handle more of the, you know, receiving the fuel orders, maintaining the fuel logs, cashing out any fuel orders that come in and are completed, stuff like that, as well as other items as it comes down.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Just really quick, I did want to make one more note really quick at the about the traffic at the airport. So September seemed, if you were looking at it most days, it seemed like it was a little on the slow end. However, we had many days where we were booked to the gills. So our numbers definitely do show. We had over 300 services for the month of September. As opposed to, I believe it was 80 something this time last year. So, but we had over 300 services. I'm sorry, sir?
Is that transient or is it,
It's all calls for fuel, the rental aircraft, items like that. It's all that. So.
Per VirTower, how many operations since the start of that in April? Ish.
When I looked yesterday morning, we were at 26,853, if memory serves correctly. We had over 800 operations at the airport for the month of September.
And that's since April 12th, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yes, ma'am.
How does that compare to, say, Grayson? Do we know? I mean, I'm sure that you know what Grayson would be to get a tower, right?
I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, sir. I haven't had a chance to reach out to that, and I'm still sifting through all the notes left by Mr. Wyatt upon his departure. So,
on that line, we've hired somebody to monitor the airport on traffic.
we got an app or a web-based program called VirTower. That's
Can we get traffic at Grayson off of that?
I'd have to get with the people at VirTower and ask that question because I don't know if we can actually see what Grayson does off the operations list because normally it's node specific.
I was just curious, so the whole reason why is because Grayson has a tower, so are we, so my thought process, are we doing enough operations, that may be justified? I mean, Ardmore, I couldn't imagine is a very busy airport as a tower, and Grayson, I honestly couldn't imagine it's that busy either, but I know Durant is very busy.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
there becomes a point where, how do we go about, looking for, control tower funding?
right. And
Are we still talking about the remote tower that they use?
I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything on that, sir.
They were gonna bring one in at one point.
Yeah, the National Guard.
Yeah. Last I asked, that in the process of going through the paperwork, don't ask me anything more than that.
So I'll just add in there that we are still having conversations. Josh has not been brought into everything yet. He's still trying to gather up everything and you know, tie up some loose ends from the former airport director. So we are continuing discussions about the potential air traffic control tower being placed in Durant. There's different, there's a whole lot of moving parts with it. It's going to be about $15 million to put a tower in. They're not really putting in additional federally controlled towers. There's a lot of proof that we have to provide from our end. I can assure you that KSA has been very involved in discussions about it. We've been having several meetings, even with the university, talking about air traffic control. So there's a lot of conversation and gathering of the proof, if you will. VirTower was a big step in that because it is counting the operations at the airport. You know, it's the most reliable form of data that we can get to prove that we need air traffic control. So yes, those conversations are ongoing, but it's not something that's going to be fixed overnight unless someone has deep pockets. So.
And I think some of the numbers aren't correct as far as the calculation of what actually coming into Durant. But I'm informed that if they cancel in the air, Durant doesn't get credit for that landing.
I think that, I could be wrong on this, but is it not using ADSB for VirTower? So it's actually, yeah, so, could I be wrong? But
No, it is using ADSB. So it counts, even if they cancel and they still land, it still hits that geofence that's at the airport, so it still identifies it. Now, if we have an aircraft that lands, as we've had a couple, where we don't see them on VirTower, I get the tail number of that aircraft and stuff like that, and I send it over to VirTower, and then they investigate as to the reason behind that. Now, if you get, you know, we've had some aircraft land that have almost no electronics, you know, they're very baseline aircraft, and we can't track them because they really don't have ADSB on that aircraft. So in that case, there's not much we can do in that, but that is a very, very slim number that I've noticed at this point. But most of our traffic, it's all based off of ADSB. So as soon as you turn on your aircraft and that ADSB lights up, we can see, so for all our based aircraft, First United's jets and stuff like that, as soon as you fire up that aircraft and you flip on that ADSB, we can actually track you from the time you move from the hangar all the way as you taxi out, get on the runway, and take off. We can actually track that.
Is it ADSB on the ground?
Yes, sir. Through our node.
Through what?
Through the node, the VirTower node that's at our airport, we can pick up that ADSB.
Okay, because I've looked on the FlightAware,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't pick up ADSB till you're out south here.
Right. So as we've noticed, even with VirTower, there are spaces where if they don't have a node coverage for that space, it basically creates a blind spot. So like one of our big blind spots, believe it or not, is right over Shreveport. When they get in about a 70 to 80 mile radius of Shreveport, we actually lose them on the map. But as soon as they get back in that coverage, we pick them back up. So, and that's a lot with FlightAware as well. FlightAware is kind of the same way. As more airports get, you know, the ADSB tracking software, tracking programs, stuff like that, they can track them a lot better. But as of right now, almost everyone out there's got their own individual blind spot somewhere because not everybody's running with them.
So are you using the system to say if a corporate jet comes in, they have a rental car set up, and they don't call you or anything, are you using the system to have the rental car truck available? So you're actually watching?
Yes, sir. Yep. As we get notified, so if we have like an artist coming in to play at the casino or something like that, a lot of times, you know, as per the planning, they'll call ahead, they'll make sure of stuff, we'll get the tail number, the ETA, stuff like that. We will actually start looking as we get close to that ETA, and we have a way to punch that tail number into the system where it will just single in on that one aircraft and that tail number, and we can then monitor it And as they get close, yeah, we definitely start prepping. You know, if we know they're going to need fuel, we go ahead and kick on the truck. We go ahead and our guys get prepped to marshal that aircraft into the ramp. If we know they're going to have a courtesy car, or they want a courtesy car to meet them out at the aircraft, we go ahead and if we have somebody available, we'll have them grab that rental car. If not, as soon as we get that aircraft marshaled, somebody's running out to the parking lot to grab a courtesy car and bring it on out. It also helps us with Choctaw VIP services, because then we can be on standby to marshal them up to the aircraft and know how many we're going to need to help load and stuff like that.
Sounds like it's a no-brainer to use this system, right?
Absolutely. It's definitely helped with our service availability at the airport, that is for sure. Thank y'all.
Next, on administration's approval of date change for future regular call meetings. Still walk back. You wanna explain that?
Yes, sir. I'll go ahead and jump on into this one. The reason why I put this on is coming from my airport up in Clovis. Advisory board was a very essential function of our airport up there. I want it to be here as well. I know in some of the rumblings I've had caught wind of and stuff like that, some people feel like the advisory board's to a point a waste, if you will. But I want to make it to where the advisory board is more a part of the airport than what it has been. Part of this, I believe, is a change from the quarterly meetings to a monthly meeting. Now, this doesn't say we have to have meetings just to have meetings. I mean, if we have absolutely nothing to bring before the board, I can get with the chairman, make a determination on, you know, if something's essential to bring. If not, we can look at, okay, you know, we won't do it this month. We'll still have it the normal time the following month. But we've got a lot of projects going on out at the airport, a lot of growth being done at the airport, as I'm sure there's several here that can attest to that. And part of that monthly meetings is, you know, if we get somebody that wants to come in and build a hangar, you know, part of that monthly meetings, instead of worrying about calling a special meeting and putting it out there, we already know, hey, we're going to have a meeting at this time on the month. I've got something coming up that needs, you know, action pretty quick, if you will. We can put it on the scheduled meeting and have that meeting in regards to that item. Also, too, it's a way for the advisory board to stay more informed as to what's going on with the airport. I also believe this will help in the management as well as suggestions in regards to our capital improvement plan. Because there's a lot of times where we'll have a capital improvement plan and, you know, 2 weeks later we need to have an answer submitted or something like that. With this, we can bring this by the advisory board early enough on before that to sit down and discuss the capital improvement plan, to state what projects we're looking at, what projects we want, stuff like that. This also ties into anytime we look at the fee schedule for the airport, getting advice from the advisory board on what they would like to see. If we happen to go through a revenue review process on hangar rentals or, you know, stuff like that. So that's my view on it. And that's why I wanted to put it on here, was to bring it to the advisory board and have you guys make a determination on how y'all feel about it. But in my personal opinion, I think it's a way for everybody to be more inclusive and more open and get a lot more feedback, if you will, from the advisory board on how the airport is doing, how we're going to move forward. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Has it been discussed if that would be here or at the airport? Or?
So it will be here. From my understanding is there was actually a ordinance, thank you, ordinance that was passed, I believe it was with the prior city manager, that all public meetings are to be held here because they have the capability of being broadcasted live. We do not have that capability out at the airport for that to happen out there.
And that's for transparency, because we are a public body. Even though we're not overseeing funds necessarily, the decisions or the recommendations that we would make to City Council or to the Airport Authority could affect how money is spent. So it's just for transparency. And it's good habit.
And if this were to be something we wanted to act on, my recommendation would be to look at having it go into effect on January, beginning of January. That way we start off the new year with the new schedule. And yes, sir, correct. Once a month. Yes, sir.
Same time?
Same time, same date, if that's what the advisory board feels is prudent, but
In the city council schedule? Because it used to be on Monday,
mhm.
so if you made a recommendation, I could have it on the following board meeting. When does city council?
I believe
Second
it's,
Tuesday, second Tuesday.
There you go.
So we're
Yep.
still okay with the meeting in the first week?
Yeah.
yes, sir.
That's what I'm thinking about.
And this, yes, sir.
I've heard talk of another advisory aviation board being formed. Are you aware of that?
That's news to me, sir.
I mean, I know people who have been asked to be members of this particular board. Is this not true?
Nothing has come across my ears since I've been at the airport, sir.
How is that?
So I believe Southeastern through the Aviation School, the technology, or Aviation Sciences Institute, I think is what they're talking about. And it's, that board is not discussing necessarily any capital improvements or making recommendations about capital improvements or anything for the Durant Regional Airport. That board is specifically talking about the growth of the university, the aviation sciences programs, training workforce, talking about recruitment of industry for those jobs that are being created. So it's pretty much, that board is about that, and it's,
So those interests won't parallel with the interest of this board?
they could intersect a little bit, but the purpose of each is different, which again is another reason that it's great that we have the public meeting. And certainly President Newsom or anybody from that board, we would encourage them to attend or get involved. So, and they are, so I have attended that meeting, the first meeting, and I will tell you that the people in that room have the best intentions and want to see our airport grow. So I think it'd be great to invite them.
There's no overlap.
Not really. The purpose of this advisory board is we're advising about growth for our airport as far as capital improvement projects and things like that. This other board, the focus is about the university, the aviation program at the university, and how to grow that in the industry. Potential places for it to intersect would be air traffic control, things, the apron expansion, things like that. They might have a discussion about that in there, and they might be able to support our request for funding for those projects in the way of, letters of support or something like that. This board, on the other hand, is about specifically making recommendations for capital improvement projects and operations for the airport. Does that make sense? Pretty much.
Well, one of the reasons I would support a meeting more often, just to be frank, is this is an advisory board, but we're often hearing things after the fact, I feel like. And there's nothing for us to advise that's already taken place.
Yes, sir.
I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. To a point it makes, I had wondered, what is our purpose?
Yes, sir.
So I would support your intentions.
Yes, sir.
I agree too, very much so.
I mean,
Find out after the fact.
Can we make a motion then that be done, since it's on the, okay, then we're looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we start holding monthly meetings of this advisory board, starting with our meeting in January of 2023.
Motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Got 2 seconds, both of them. Motion's been made and seconded twice, so the second, third, okay. All in favor? Do you need to call a roll or what?
Yeah, call roll.
Hey, before you do we need to clarify what day and time of the month? So it would be the first
First Wednesday
Wednesday at
of-
4 p.m. here at City Hall.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's part of your motion.
That's part of my motion.
I got it on video. Board Member Duffer,
Yes.
Board Member Lambert,
Yes.
Board Member Moore,
Yes.
Board Member Stuteville,
Aye.
Board Member Taylor,
Yes.
Board Member Thomas,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Shear,
Yes.
Chairman Craig.
Yes.
Motion's been made and carried. Okay. That covers that item, discussion on capital improvement plan update.
So I'm sure you all got a packet of paperwork, the same one that I've been reading to y'all off of. So if you look on the back of that, you'll see a printout or a copy of the current 5-year capital improvement plan for the airport. Now this was part of that discussion that I stated we had with KSA about a week and a half ago. In this meeting, so as you'll see here at 2023, we have the replace, relocate AWAS and the design terminal apron expansion. Now at this time, the design terminal apron expansion is being moved to 2024. And that's just due to some of the issues with the FAA funding, as well as any chance of actually getting it in to be considered for a project. According to Tim House, who is our ADO, we're not in very good standing for that right now. However, we do have the 50,000 match has been earmarked. So we're going to go ahead and utilize 25,000 of that for the AWAS move, and 2023 is our match for that. So that project is going to be moving forward. What I've brought up with KSA was the possibility of looking, since we had to move the design to the next year, I wanted to see if there's some way we couldn't put in repainting or remarking the taxiway at this time. I'm sure many of you that are flying out of the airport kind of notice that our paint out there at the airport's getting a little on the worn side. So what my talks with KSA have been is to start looking at the possibility of getting the markings on the taxiway right now repainted. Then we'll be looking at moving on to the runway from there. That way, because we have minimal reflectivity, if none, on some of our taxiway markings, as well as our runway markings. And I'd like to see about getting those redone to where they're reflective at night and they're consistent. We don't have some markings different from others.
I have a question about that, Josh.
Sir.
So the city actually just recently went through all of town and remarked a lot of the streets.
Sir.
Is it a different type of paint, or, I mean, is it not something that the city could come in and do the taxiways, I guess is my question. Or ramp areas maybe even is actually a better word for that.
I know you've been asked a question, but that was a contractor. We went out for bids and hired a contractor to do the striping in town. It wasn't the city.
Oh, it was? Okay.
No, yeah, it was a contractor.
Yeah, never mind then. Disregard.
Right. Well, to tie on with your question, I know I actually had brought that up to Michael Mitchell at one point, was to try to see if the next time the city was going to be doing any kind of painting for streets or anything like that, if we could tie on. That way we could offset some of the mobilization costs and stuff like that for it. But Michael Mitchell had informed me that it was done on so we couldn't have tied in on it, so. But, and then with that, now you'll notice I've made some markings down at 2026 and 2027. Per KSA, we're looking, those are the more realistic dates right now of the ramp expansion. Now we do have state funds that we have been guaranteed will be available to us in 2027 for the actual construction phase of the ramp. So more than likely, pending a miracle, if you will, with the FAA and funding, more than likely we're looking 2026 for the design of the ramp expansion and 2027 for the actual construction at this time.
You know, my concern on there is if we're getting this busy and keep getting busy, then we're gonna need it.
Yes, sir.
I think we need it right now.
I'm sorry.
I think we need it right now. He was talking about that we're going to get busier. I mean, I think there's a lot of weekends that every spot on the ramp is covered up. You're putting aircraft in other places, you know, that aren't typical where you would have them, which is fine. I mean, it's a good problem to have. But is there no possibility of moving that up? Is that just state funding, or how does that work?
It's more having to do with the availability of being ensure we can make the matches as well as have the funding available from the FAA. So like we could go, the city could go out and look at doing the design right now. So if they were to go out and spend $250,000 right now to do the design for the apron expansion, and we put it shovel ready, sorry. And then the FAA comes down and makes a determination that they're not going to go with our project, they're going to go with another project. The city just lost $250,000 that they can't recoup under the API funds.
Okay.
So due to that, that's kind of one of those things that we're trying to work at the best we can. I fully agree. I believe we need it right now as well. But unfortunately, what we're fighting the red tape up at the FAA. We are working very closely with Tim House. He is very much aware of how badly we need the ramp expansion. So is Grayson Arties with OAC. Thank you. You know, he's very much aware, and he's a very big proponent of our airport. He's a very big proponent of wanting to see us grow and get as much support as we can, which is why we know we're going to have the state funds in 2027 for the build. It's just a matter of trying to see if, like you said, we can't expedite that process in the near future. But as of right now, we're playing hopscotch with FAA funding, and that's never a fun thing. So,
Question,
sir.
really not pushing it, but one time I was on a trip, and transit aircraft that were blackout, you know, small aircraft, they parked me on the grass. Is that an option out here?
Absolutely, yes, sir. We can, if it comes down to it, we can park some aircraft on the grass. We haven't yet, thankfully, but I do know that before we have actually looked at that option. Now we also have the option of the South Apron area past the Choctaw Hangar. We've got that option. We honestly, with the way this Friday's looking, we probably will need to utilize that, because I know right now we've got a Citation Sovereign, a Dornier 328 jet looking at coming in, and several other aircraft. We have Train in concert this weekend, so I'm pretty sure we're getting a lot of that traffic for the concert coming in. So we're probably gonna be another packed ramp again. However, we do have some areas that we have marked for the GA traffic. I'm already working with the staff on making plans, so if we do have people coming in that we know are gonna be staying the weekend or something like that, we can then tug those vehicles and relocate them to another part of the airport. That way we free up space for anybody that's just coming in really quick and turning out, and general aviation traffic to try to make space for these jets. So.
Other discussion?
I see you have the Jet A tank from years past. We've talked about this Jet A tank with self-serve, and I thought that it was going to be in conjunction with the new ramp, and I see that it's actually before the new ramp. And so the question is where will that go?
So, from my discussions with KSA, it's still in conjunction with the new ramp. because we really don't want to try to put it in place right now or before the new ramp's done, and then end up having to expend more funds to try to move it down the road. So as of right now, it's still in conjunction. I just didn't show the arrow moving it
okay.
to reflect the changes that were being done. So I do apologize for that.
No. But it could be a while to get this tank built. I think we waited quite a while for the 100 low lead tank, right? So maybe your funds are, earmarked for 2025, but does it take a year to build it? I guess maybe that's an issue. I don't know.
I couldn't give you an honest answer on that one, and I really don't want to speculate on that. I do know that a lot of it will probably come down to the availability of the tank itself when it comes time for that. Are they going to have a dual wall 12,000 gallon tank available at the time, or are they going to have to go out and build one, or something like that? I mean, we've all seen the supply and demand issues and currently in the economy, and unfortunately those are kind of starting to affect a little bit of everything, if you will. I mean, even our GPU, the earliest projections I've got on a GPU coming in is, I believe last time I checked, was like almost 8 months out.
Oh, wow.
So we got lucky with our lav cart, in all honesty. So
Thank you for getting lucky.
Okay, any more discussion on that? New business? Any new business? Then I guess if that's it, we're motion for adjournment.
I'll motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.